Here we go again. For those of you who may not know, Masters of Dirt is a huge RC race event that takes place every year at Beach RC at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. If you're a longtime viewer of this channel, you know that the last time I went to this event was in 2021. I actually did fairly decently and I had a lot of fun. This year though, things could have gone better placement wise, but overall I still think it was an overall good experience. I believe if you have the means to go, you should absolutely attend this event. Brent Densford and his team over at Beach did an amazing job with this event, and I don't even know how they could have done a better job. In this video, we'll be going over my own experience and what exactly is Masters of Dirt. Before we begin, I'd like to remind you to hit that subscribe button and be sure to like the video as well if you enjoy it. Also, keep in mind this won't be from the perspective of someone who is at a top level, as I am far from that. With that out of the way, let us proceed. Let's begin with the layout itself. Even though it may not have been as good as it was last year in my opinion, it was still a very fun track layout. The layout itself had both technical and high-speed sections that really tested both your driving ability and your ability to set up your car the right way. Let's go ahead and take a look at a few of the features the track had. First, we have the straightaway into a 180 hairpin. Getting this corner right and carrying speed through it is very important to be able to hit the first major feature of the actual track, a triple or quad depending on how you want to look at it. Despite how it may look, it was actually very much possible to clear this feature with a stock 2-wheel drive buggy, but doing so requires you to get the previous 180 hairpin correct in order to do so. After this, it goes into a 180 hairpin into an even larger triple. This is where the lines that a lot of classes take in a lap begin to differ. For the mod classes, it was possible to take the hairpin prior to the triple tight and pretty much go from 0 to 100 over the triple. On the other hand, the stock classes usually had to take the 180 much wider and use the bank to carry more speed in order to make the triple. And in the case of 17.5 turn buggies, it didn't take the triple at all. They took it as a double single. After this, it goes into a right-hander into a sort of stairway or step up. Again, it was possible to make it to the top of the staircase into a hairpin with one single jump from the bottom with a mod motor, but this was a line that only the best were able to actually do consistently. After a quick little step down and an off-camber hairpin, you then get into the main feature of the track itself, the high-speed half bowl. This part really tested the stability of your car and its setup. If you were good, then you can pretty much just lay on the throttle all the way through it. If not, your car would spin out or get unstable over the bumps. Something else to know is that this track is a lot bumpier than it appears. However, the surface itself was very high grip, almost like concrete. Anyway, after the high-speed bowl, you then get into a double hairpin. Are you sensing a pattern here? After this, it goes into a slightly turned tabletop that if you wanted to hit right, you'd have to whip. After that, you go into a little hill that you have to roll, then it goes into a right turn and there you are. You have a full lap. A fast lap for those in the pro class would be somewhere in the 17 to 18 second range, with the fastest lap I saw being 17.1 from I think Spencer Rifkin, who this year is your Master of Dirt. With the track layout out of the way, why don't we see the structure of the event itself? The event takes place from Thursday to Sunday. All of Thursday is dedicated to controlled practice. Controlled practice works something like this. You're given a certain amount of time on the track, usually 3 to 4 minutes, and after that you're done. After which, you go and marshal for the next group. Rinse and repeat throughout the day. Friday also has controlled practice early on in the day, but afterward, in the middle of the day, there's seating. In large events with some top-level drivers, it can be a bit bad for them to move through traffic throughout their qualifier. More so if you're your average hobbyist who does it as a hobby and not a day job, as they have to pull over every 5 seconds for a pro driver coming up behind them. Seating seeks to remedy this. Basically, the way it works is that your fastest 3, or in this event's case 2 laps are counted and you're placed into a qualifying group accordingly. You can also kind of look at this like qualifying before qualifying. Once all of the seating rounds have taken place, they then move on to qualifying. And that basically works the same way as it does at most races. Friday then ends with a fireball race, and considering this is YouTube, I can't really get into what it involves without getting the video demonetized, so I'll just say this year it involved adult beverages, teams of 2, and tracks of slashes. Once Saturday comes around, you have the second and third rounds of qualifying. Nothing too insane happens, just regular qualifying. Then on Sunday, you have the mains along with a few different races like the Dash for Cash taking place, along with a main practice. The mains are usually done by about 6 p.m. After which, the event is over and you can drive on the track for a little bit before closure. I'm simplifying it a lot for the most part, but that's usually how it goes down. As for the classes you'll be seeing at this event, you'll see 21.5 Novice 2-wheel drive, 17.5 stock 2-wheel drive, 13.5 stock 4-wheel drive, 13.5 stock stadium truck, mini truggy, MoD open 2-wheel drive buggy, MoD pro 2-wheel drive buggy, MoD 4-wheel drive buggy, MoD stadium truck, MoD short course truck, and 40 plus 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive buggy. Both stock 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive classes use spec tires, and this year it was the Proline Bald Eagles in the S3 compound. Also, in spec classes, your battery had to be under a certain voltage range, specifically 8.4 volts. As a result, using high voltage batteries was pretty much a no-no. Luckily, you can simply just charge a high voltage battery as a regular LiPo and you should be fine, so don't go up to the counter to pick up a brand new set of batteries just for this event to run stock. Or you can, I don't have your wallet. Right, now how the event went for me. Let's start with 2-wheel drive stock. This is the first time I was able to run the new B6.4 at a large level event, and it was pretty good once I got some help. Turns out my differential from when I ran at Hobbyton Columbus that one time before this event was painfully loose. As a result, I had very little corner exit traction as one wheel would simply unload. From the outside, it would look like the rear didn't have any grip, but it wasn't actually the case. After getting some help from Spencer Rivkin, I managed to get my car to grip well enough to where I could get some laps in. But it still didn't feel quite right, quite yet. You remember that thing I did last year when I put the caster blocks in my Yokomo backwards? Yeah, I did that again on my B6.4. Whoops. Anyway, once this was remedied, I was able to run the car very well. However, that wouldn't be the last thing to plague my 2-wheel drive buggy. During the qualifier runs, I had an issue with my ESC I was loaned as a backup for my friend and fellow racer Brock Peterson. It was an LRP MoD ESC, so it should have been able to handle the stock motor just fine, right? Well, nope. Towards the end of the second qualifier, the ESC short-circuited and fried itself, pulling me out of the race. After this, then the third qualifier, the wheel nut backed off. Turns out it wasn't serrated. After this, the mains came up and the same thing happened after a single minute. All in all, 2-wheel drive buggy went not so great. Not again! Oh no! Charles, it's 4-wheel drive buggy actually went pretty well, all things considered at least. The Techno ran like a trooper throughout the event, and the only thing that went wrong was a bad shock cap popping off in a bad crash in the triple. The only thing I can say about the Techno is that it wasn't really designed for stock racing, as it is quite heavy compared to its rivals. As a result, there were some lines I simply couldn't take consistently, like the second triple or the stairway. I ended up in the E main and placed 41st overall. Not too great, but hey, what can you do when the competition is this stacked other than drive better? Short course truck was the only class I really put much personal stake into, as last time I did make it into the A main by bumping up from the B main, so I wanted to improve over last time. This time, however, the competition was much more fierce, so I had a harder time keeping pace with other drivers, especially drivers running MoD motors, as I had a 13.5 and I couldn't make this 2 triples consistently. As a result, I landed myself in the B main, but I still had a chance to bump up. Unfortunately, after a bad landing, I ended up losing some body clips that I didn't want to hold anyone up, so I pulled off and let the others race. The majority of said race, I was in 4th, and placed 16th overall, even with the DNF in the B main. Now to some people, the placements I received in this event would have led to consider it somewhat of a not so great success. And by that I mean failure. However, I am not most people, and I look at it from a different perspective. You see, I didn't go to this event to win. No way in hell was that ever going to happen. What I came to do was improve as a driver, both on and off the track. You see, one thing that you have in abundance when it comes to these events is a plethora of people who have more experience than you. These are people who can help you improve as a driver. In fact, they're contractually obligated to help you improve as a driver. Like I already said, I got some help from Spencer Rivkin with my differential, but I also got help from another associated driver named Chris Finnair. He's the one who showed me a few ways to both make my car more stable and easier to drive, along with giving me some general setup tips that I can carry on to other tracks and events, like understanding how caster and bump steer works, and how exactly to adjust it on these cars. If only my two-wheel drive wasn't cursed to walk the plains of existence with one rear wheel. So why attend Masters of Dirt? Well, like I said before, there's no better place to expand your knowledge than at an event like this. Many drivers, both sponsored and team factory level, are there and willing to help you out in any way that you might need on the track. Also, if you really want to test your nerves and see how you do under pressure, putting yourself on the track with only one chance to get it right will absolutely do that. Along with that, the atmosphere is generally a lot better than a lot of other large events I've been to. People tend to be a lot friendlier, is what I'm saying. I will say, however, there are some things to take into account before you go. First, if you think that stock class will be a class for less seasoned drivers to get their feet wet in a large event like this, you're in for a shock. The stock classes at Masters are probably going to be the largest hassle in terms of running around and getting ready, along with being by far the most expensive due to the spec tires you need to buy. With the open two-wheel drive buggy class, you can run whatever tire you want, whatever motor you want, whatever ESC settings you wish, and whatever battery you wish. And since all the pros are in the Pro Master Class for two-wheel drive, you won't have to worry about having to run with them. So if I were to recommend any of the classes to run, the open two-wheel drive buggy class would be the one I recommend if you're new to big races like this. Another thing to take into account is to bring as many tires as you possibly can. This year the spec tire was a Bald Eagle in the S3 compound from Proline, and they actually worked pretty well after being worn in with a sanding paddle and drill. In truth, I think any slick would have worked pretty well at this track, so be sure to bring as many slicks in different compounds so you can test them out to see which one works best. Another little recommendation I would say is to bring more than one car if you can. If you only run one class, there's going to be a lot of downtime between when you actually get to drive on the track after practice. Personally, I ran 3 classes, and that's about as far as I wanted to go in terms of my budget and generally being able to set up the cars the way I wanted to. My last general tip for you guys at home is to temper your expectations. Yes, you may be the king of your local track, but trust me when I say the competition at this event is beyond anything you may have seen before. So if you don't do as well as you might have hoped, don't feel so bad, as Masters of Dirt is by all intents and purposes a national level event. Another piece of advice I can give you is to either bring a lot of extra cash or a lot of extra parts. Preferably both, as things can go very wrong very quickly. The last piece of advice I can give you is to be sure to enjoy yourself with friends. Masters of Dirt is an event meant to bring together like-minded racers that all just want to have fun with their toy cars. Simple as that. If you're not going to enjoy yourself, you're doing it wrong. As I always say, RC is supposed to be fun, and it's up to us as racers to allow it to be fun. And that's all for now. If you made it this far in the video, I can't thank you enough. You guys are the reason I continue to do what I do, and I don't know where I'd be without you guys. Speaking of thanks, I'd like to give thanks to a lot of different people. First, my father and brother Sean for helping me get the gear I needed to race, Brock Peterson, Craig Axon Jackson, Ryan Goyette, and Gary Cole for helping me get to and from the event, Chris Van Air and Spencer Rifkin for helping me to get my car to not suck, Mike patrons including Michael Williams, RC World Discord server, Casey Nix, Ben Reeves, Dave Armstrong, Ryan Lamb, Joe Jenkins, Morrison Wad, Juliet Lovelace, The Mailman 110, Brian Lofton, Ricky Eckenlow, Precision Key, Ron Bedingfield, and finally, all the support you guys have given me throughout the years on YouTube. Genuinely, all of the support you guys have given me and all the kind words and stuff like that have gotten me through a lot of bad stuff, so thank you for that. So, yeah, I'll see you later. Here's to another 12 months.